Welcome everyone to Divine Allegiance. I am your host Maulana Baig, a show where knowledge meets reality. We have been on a hiatus for the last 2 weeks since Eid al-Fitr, and we are glad to be back, and I am excited. A lot of things are happening. Wow, a lot of things are happening. Another black man has been killed. There is protests across America, police brutality, racism, discrimination charges, and issues being raised up. Military in Washington, D.C. The rich are becoming richer, poor are becoming poorer. It's good to know that America is back to normal. Yes, the way that America has always been. So now we see that a huge uprising is happening and people are realizing that something wrong is happening. And it's interesting to see how this is working out. Because when you actually look at the history of America and the wrongs that have been happening here, the police brutality, the state suppressing the will of the people, that has been going on for a long time. And the issues were being raised by oppressed people for a long time. Black suppression and brutality against black people has been going on for a long time. And they have been raising the issues, but no one was willing to hear it or no one was reacting to it. When protests happened, it was usually black people who would go out, and rightly so. They would protest against the wrong that has been done to them. So now when we look at it, nowadays, everyone seems to be like looking at this and saying, wow, this is crazy what happened to George Floyd. Yes, it is crazy, but it's the same thing that happened to so many other people in the past. And it's interesting, why is it now that people are now starting to see? But first, let me just go back and tell you about the brutality that's been taking place. Since 1991, which is before most of the people who are now on the streets were born, when the beating of Rodney King was caught on camera, and it became national news. And it was a horrifying scene of a group of police officers who surrounded this one person on the street and they were beating them up. You can YouTube the video and you see them beating him up as if it's some sort of a circus. And it was horrifying for America to see, wow, such things actually happen. Well, yes, such things actually happen, but this is the first time it was caught on camera. And it was being told to everyone that such discrimination and racism is taking place. But no one was willing to listen. It was as if they were just avoiding the issue. And since that time onwards, the list continues. And these are people in incidents of horrible crimes that happen against innocent people that were caught on camera. Otherwise, there's so many incidents that are not caught on camera that never come out to the people. So what we see is just a sampling of a huge problem that always existed. From there you can see all the list. I have a list of people that I just wrote down that I found and that I remembered. Like, for example, after 1992, Malice Wayne Green. 1997, Abner Luima. 1999, Amadou Diallo. 2006, Sean Bell. Remember that? This person was in a restaurant with two of his friends the night before his wedding. And the cops came and they shot them 50 times. Can you believe that? 50 times they were shot the day before his wedding. Remember that case? Or, for example, Oscar Grant, who was shot behind the head on a train platform. Remember that incident? This officer came and he shot him in the back of the while he's lying down. And he shot him behind his head. And then you have Kelly Thomas in Fullerton, the mentally ill kid, who was killed, and Eric Gardner. Remember that big guy in New York? He had a chokehold. They had a chokehold on him, and they killed him. And he was saying, "I can't breathe." He was saying the same thing, "I can't breathe," and this was going on. Then you have like all kinds of Michael Brown, Walter Scott, Freddie Gray, Laquan McDonald, Philando Castile. He was in the car and he was trying to take out his ID when they shot him with his girlfriend. They shot him. And so the list goes on. This brutality has been going on in America for a long time. But the question is, why is it now that everyone is starting to see? What's going on now that's different? See, this is interesting, my friends. And I have a theory on that. And really, when we look at it, it was always going on. So why is it now that everyone is starting to look at it and say, "Oh, this is terrible, this is crazy. This person, he was saying I can't breathe and it still killed him. This is a horrible thing to happen and we need to do something about that." Well, it's interesting. My theory really is that this COVID-19 and the quarantine that we have been in, and it has quarantined us in our homes for months, since March all the way now till June. You see, it's almost like 4 months. We have been in our homes and we haven't been able to go out. The sports are canceled, movies are canceled, and with nothing happening, 4 months, I feel that people have had a chance to use their minds. They were able to think. They started thinking. And when you start thinking, you start to look at things, be a little bit introspective of what's going on. You are able to see what's happening around you clearly. Because until then, if you look at the way America works and how things were happening here, America had occupied the minds of people through entertainment, through sports, through all kinds of addictions, whether it's alcohol, drugs, and other things. And all of these things just made the people unable to see what's happening around them. People would be killed right next to them. They don't care. They have a show to get to. They have a game to get to. People were not interested. Things were happening here, and crimes were happening here, and state crimes were happening, but people were busy. I feel that now people have a chance to think. You see, why is it that Islam is growing in prisons, in jails, a lot more than outside? Well, because in jail, people have time. In fact, that's what they do in jail. They're serving time. They have all the time in the world to think, to reason, to look at things. And when you start thinking, it makes you look at things around you clearly. This is the main reason why now so many people, because there's no football, there's no baseball, there's no basketball, there's no sports happening, and ESPN is just showing old games. There's nothing new happening. You see, entertainment wise, there's no movies coming out, there's no new shows coming out. Everyone's watching reruns and old movies they have already watched before. So nothing new is coming out. So they don't have time to preoccupy their minds with such things. So when you don't have time, what happens? Then you're able to think. You see how great thinking is. Just getting the time to think. It creates an environment where you actually can see things that are happening, and you can actually feel the wrong that's in them, that in that thing that happened. Now you can actually see that this is terrible what happened to George Floyd. Yes, it is. as it was terrible to all the people that happened to before him. It is like that. And now you see that thing happening. Otherwise, America hasn't changed. It's the same thing that's happening. We either are at war with others or we are at war with ourselves. When we are not at war with others, we are at war with ourselves. But that internal strife is happening and the problems are happening. When you look at America as a war machine, it's amazing that out of the 244 years of American history, we have been at war with some sort of a war for 223 years. That's a lot of war for any country to be in. Some war or another, we have been at it. So there is a tendency in us for that aggressive nature, and hence this sort of brutality that we see that's happening amongst our people. And there are reasons behind it, whatever reasons that. The fact is that it was always happening. It's not something new, folks. It's always happening. And the reason that now people are able to see it as what it is, it's a heinous crime. I mean, racism is a dirty thing. Discrimination is a dirty thing. And now people are actually seeing this and saying, hey, this is wrong. Why was he killed like this? Now people are able to see that, but it's good. This is one of the good benefits in results of being in quarantine, and we being able to think now and to see things the way they are. And I think that this is a time that many things can be changed here. And it's also good to see Islamic organizations and centers making statements about this and joining the bandwagon. The bandwagon is there, but it's good to see them. Is it the result of them also being able to think now and see things? But at least, every organization that I know has been making statements regarding this and condemnation for what has happened. Maybe they woke up, and so that's a good thing. That's a good sign. And I'm saying that is a positive sign. Now that we have condemned racism in our statements, now we can also condemn it in our centers and welcome other people to come to our centers. That is the next step for us. To welcome them without looking at them as some sort of foreigners or strangers or aliens, which they are not. People can come. If they are Muslims, they are our brothers and sisters, and they are just like us. And a believer is going to be respected by other believers. It is a duty that Allah has put on all believers. And hence, this is something, it's a start that we need to now get to the next level and the next step and bring the people in. So it's good to see that people who would be like precarious of colored people coming to centers, Islamic centers, would now welcome them and would see them. Maybe the time to think that Allah has given us in this quarantine is going to open our eyes, and we need to take it to the next level, and we need to give the force that Islam is, and Islam is a unifying force. Malcolm X in the 60s, which was like the height of the civil rights movement and racism and discrimination and the fight for equality, all of these things that were happening, Malcolm X, when he was in the midst of all of that, and he has written a book, and he's regarded as someone who had very deep insight into the American psyche of both the oppressors and the oppressed, being a part of that era that created so much change. So Malcolm X had said this, and you can read it in his book, is an autobiography that is written by Alex Haley, and written in there, and there's speeches on it also regarding that Malcolm said that the problem of racism in America, it needs a superior force that can unite the Americans, that can eradicate this problem. And he said that that superior force is Islam. Islam is that force, because when he went to Mecca for Hajj and he did his Hajj, he saw how everyone can live together and be together and pray together and eat together, being actual brothers in faith. No matter which background you're from, you can be together. He saw that, and he realized that, wow, it's not that, we are different than that, but just that America, we need this force. We need this force that Islam is, that if it comes to America, it is going to eradicate the problem of racism from America. It's his statement. And he recognized this as a solution. And centers and masjids should be offering that as an example. Not, for example, being followers of a bandwagon and jumping on the bandwagon, but they should be leading the way to show that how brotherhood should exist. That how we are all creation of Allah. That how we all belong to Allah. And that there's nothing that distinguishes each and any one of us. This is why it's the only thing that distinguishes us is what we achieve in terms of our piety, in terms of our obedience and service to Allah and His creation. Those are the things, otherwise all of us are together as one, working together. That should be the lesson for all centers now, to take the lead, that Allah has given you that. And especially Ahlul Bayt have given you that example, that shining light to follow, and how to do this and how to become one. It is time for us to get rid of these things so that we can lead now and not follow. Because that's what we have been brought here for. We have been brought here to give the example of Allah and Ahlul Bayt. That's why we were brought, not to follow what others are doing and saying and learning and saying, oh, look, we also learned this. We also learned this. We should not be doing that. Allah has made us to be leaders. Islam, ya'lu wala yu'la. Islam is always above. It's never underneath anything. It's always leading the way. It's never following. Because Islam is a religion of Allah. And Allah wants all. He's leading. And He has given us the examples of leading everyone in the right direction. So we are here to give the example, my friends. Don't become like followers. It's sad to see that the people who follow Ahlul Bayt and have the knowledge of Ahlul Bayt and the example of Ahlul Bayt are following others. We need to be the ones leading the way and showing that this is how it's done. That this is how it's done in your society, in the society that we live in, the greater society that we live in. They can also achieve the same thing by following us, by following our example. And you can achieve the same thing. This discrimination that's happening, this hatred that exists between different races here, or even if it's not hatred, it would be more like, for example, just I don't have no tolerance for the other. Whatever it is, it needs to be eradicated through a superior force of love and conviction that only can come in the hearts of everyone through belief in Allah, in His religion, through God and His religion. That's where it comes from. And for all of us, We have to be that example. So it's good to see that centers and organizations are making condemnations of these things, which rightly so, they should be doing that. But they should be the ones leading the way, not following. And hence, let's make and look at ourselves and see where and what happened that we are unable to lead and we are trying to follow what's happening in society. We should be the ones telling them, you see, we need to pull you all out of this. All of you are stuck in this. Let us help you to take you out of this mess that has been made here. This is a responsibility that we have. Allah brought us here for reasons, and this is one of those reasons, my friends. Let's take that. That is something that we all, everywhere you are and every center that you are, you need to think about this and let everyone know that how we should be now following Ahlul Bayt, not the society, and leading the society towards Ahlul Bayt and towards Allah. So that will be for tomorrow. It's glad to be back. I am going to be then, inshallah, we'll go into different subjects soon. Many things to talk about. A lot of people are writing in regarding different subjects they want me to talk about, and this was one of them. And I just wanted to give some light on this issue so that it helps us now to do something in regards to what is happening nowadays. I thank you all. May Allah bless you all. And we hope to see you back again. Thank you for watching Divine Allegiance. We hope you like the show. If you like the show, please go on and hit the like button below and subscribe to our channel and share with your family and friends to spread the message. I'm your host, Maulana Baig. Until next time, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.